Hi everyone, I'm Dave, and I decided to start a little channel here, a little community here for those that like to collect records. And I know I'm not the first one out here doing it, and I know I'm not going to be the last, but I want to take a look at things a little bit different. As you can see in the background, I got some records, and I'd like to tell you that's my complete collection, but to be honest with you, it's not. That is only the tip of the iceberg. But I guess I should tell you about it. So, about 5 years ago, I made the trek of moving from Ontario to Alberta. For anybody listening who's not in Canada, that's about a 3,000 kilometer drive. So some things were left in storage and are on their way out here, hopefully within the next 6 months, I'm hoping. But it's expensive. So, what I've noticed from collecting records is it's changed from when I was a young child to now at my age. And some of it I really like. I love all the new additions, the new colors, the repressings, and all that. Some of the things I don't like is that most of it's done online, and there's no communication. There's no guy leading you into something. So I remember fondly of me and my friends getting our allowance or payday once we started working. We headed down to Cheapy's Records. Anybody from Hamilton will know that place really well. And we'd go in there and buy all our records we could with as much money as we had. And there was always going to be some guy from the university saying, "Hey kids, you think that's really cool? You should listen to this." And we would go home and try it. And I've got many records that way. And it really added to my enjoyment of the collection. So I've moved out here and I continued collecting, as you can see. And my friends keep encouraging me to start something like this and to have the conversation of, records. They're amazed that for some reason I can remember every record I've bought, everywhere I've bought it, and any stories that go along with it. And I've been encouraged to share that. So what I'd like to do as we move forward is share the first 5 records that defined your musical tastes. Not the Smurfs album you got from Christmas from that crazy aunt that thought you would like it even though you were 12 years old and way past the age of the Smurfs. Not the stuff you bought because it was on TV, but the stuff you went out and you were like, I have to have this. The stuff that defined your collection. So, moving forward, what my goal is to do is to interview people. We're going to start with some of my friends. I'm lucky enough to have some of my friends that are musicians to discuss the first 5 albums, the ones that made them who they are. I'm looking to reach out to talk to new musicians and new bands to listen to what they're putting out and ask them what it was that got them to this place that they're in now. To review it, maybe open it up to you so that you can sample some of this music that's out there. Because I'm tired of hearing everybody tell me that rock is dead or music is dead. I think it's still real, it's still there, and I just want to share some of it on, hopefully, a global level. So, again, if you are a new musician or you're a young band and you got a couple of albums that you've put together and maybe they're doing okay in your local neighborhood and you want it, reach out, contact me. Links will be in the description. Um, the other thing I like to do is, open up a little bit of my life to you. Me and my son, my good friend Jeanette here, who's helping me film today, we do a lot of crafty things. We spent the weekend recovering chairs. We build guitars and we paint funny things and we do some really cool stuff that's interesting, and hopefully moving forward we can share that with you as well. But just to get on to, what we were talking about are the first 5 records. Now I happen to have some of these records with me here today. Unfortunately, I'm going to be honest, the one that I'm most happy to tell you is one of my first records is in a storage unit back home. So, let me begin. The first record I ever picked up myself. I remember going into Sears. If you guys remember Sears, when they were a store, sold music way back when, and it must have been 1983. And in the bargain bin, I picked up this little gem. It was the first one I ever bought. It was The Who, Face Dances. Now, I don't know whether you own this record or if you do, but this was my entry into The Who. And I loved this album. I played this all the time. And then somebody told me this wasn't the real Who because Keith Moon wasn't on this album. And I went back years later to listen to that, and they were right. But this by far was one of my favorite albums. Next we have the album I don't have, and that is the very first Rush album. I was in Woolworths. It was in $1 in the music thing. It was in the bargain bin again because I only got $5 a week allowance. It may have been 1984, and all I knew is that my sister dated this real cool guy who loved Rush, and he was pretty cool, so I had to have the first Rush album, and that just blew everything else I'd been listening aside. And again, big Rush collection. Looking forward to sharing that with people when it gets out here, but that was album number 2. Album number 3, and I thought I had heard everything. Like, I thought I knew music now. Roger Daltrey was the best singer. Geddy Lee was the best player. What could be better than that? And I bought this one. Mob Rules by Black Sabbath. I bought this album strictly on the cover. I thought, I don't know what it is, but I have to hear about it. And I put this on, and it changed everything. How could you have any better? Tony Iommi, you had Dio, and it was like nobody else mattered. And I just played this album so many times. This is probably my 4th copy of this album. And it was amazing. So that was that. I think this is the reissue, guys. It's a pretty nice package. If you see it, pick it up. But the original one I bought was at Sam the Record Man, downtown Hamilton. I think I paid $11.99 for it. So a couple weeks later, I get my allowance, and there's some kids. I don't know whether it was all schools and stuff, but they did an air band competition. And there were some kids. I was probably in grade 6 by that point, and there were some kids in grade 8. And they got up to do an air band. And everybody was doing what was popular at the time. And I don't even remember the kids' names. But they got up and they did a song. And it changed everything. Prior to that, I'd heard of this band. In fact, my best friend, Pete, used to love this band when he was younger. And I used to make fun of them because I thought they were freaky. But by grade 6, I had a whole different appearance. And it was this band here. I heard Shout It Out Loud, and I had to have this album. And again, back to Woolworths, I think it was, in the music section. I went through the bargain bin, and I got this. This is a reissue, but I got this one from the Priceless Collection. It was called, I think it was $7.99. And once I dropped the needle, this must have spun for 2 weeks solid. It was the only thing I would play. Wouldn't play the Rush album. I couldn't get sick of this album. And I played it. And then that same cool boyfriend who came over, my sister dated him for a long time. He's like, that's a good album, but if you really want to hear this record, this is what you need to have. And I went out and I bought Alive 2. And guys, this one changed everything. When I opened it up and I saw inside the booklet. Now this is a unique copy. If you're a collector, I was finally able to find the one with the tattoos. There's a tattoo sheet, and some days I'm still tempted to put some on. But I won't because I paid too much for this copy. But what I loved about this is this had the booklet inside. I'm going to try to open it up if I can. And then when I saw Ace Frehley smoking guitar and all the Peter Criss drum kits over the last few tours, the Gene Simmons Spitting Blood, I knew what Pete liked about them. I'll be honest though, by grade 6, Pete had given up on Kiss. He was a little bit above advanced for me in music. But I was getting into them, and I love this album. This was the album I played. So these are my top 5. Or first 5, not top 5. These are my first 5. And I'm hoping that if you're watching this, you're thinking to yourself, what were my first 5 albums? What did I buy? What were the ones that changed my life? And then I'm hoping that you're going to like, share, subscribe. Leave a message in the comments of your 5 and what you want to talk about. Moving forward, I'm hoping the videos are going to be a little bit longer. I know that I want to dive in with someone and discuss an album that really meant something to them. One of those pinnacle albums. I don't just want to show you the covers, but I want to go in deep on something and have somebody break down what makes this album so great. And maybe I'll do that in the future as well. But for now, we're going to hope that you like, share, subscribe, and hopefully leave a comment and tell me your top 5, your first 5, and we can go from there. Thanks.